This is the first in the Ruler of the Month series, and the ruler that I want to focus on today is the 4-inch Curvy Log Cabin Trim Tool. It's an inexpensive little ruler, and it does quite a bit in making this fun curved shape on a log cabin, and I absolutely love that. For now, we're going to set our 4-inch Curvy Log Cabin Trim Tool aside, and we will be using our spot on dot magnifying lens, so I'm going to keep those, and I'm just using this larger Creative Grids ruler to do all my strip cutting. I have all of these fabrics that I'm going to be cutting strips from. These are for my heart itself. And then I have a background fabric. For my background fabric, I'm using what looks like a linen, but actually this is an Art Gallery Fabrics denim. And you might be thinking, whoa, girl, you are crazy for using denim in a quilt, but I'm not crazy, or well, maybe I am crazy, but this is the good kind of crazy. So I'm going to start by cutting my background strips. And what's cool is right on my ruler, it tells me what size I need to cut my background strips. My background are going to be my narrow strips, and it says to cut them at 1 1/8 inch wide to 1 1/4 inch wide. So I'm going to go ahead and cut them at that larger 1 1/4 just to be on the safe side. So I use my spot on dot. And when you use 2 spot on dots, it helps you line up 2 edges. And so I've got my 1 1/4, and I'm going to put that up here, which is going to be that white line up there. And then I'm going to put this down a little lower, because if you remember your basic geometry classes, any 2 points makes a line. So as long as you have this on 2 points, you've got a line. Because see, look, a point here to here, there's a line between my 2 fingers. A point here to here, there's a line between my 2 fingers. So as long as it's straight on 2 points, you've got a line. So I'm going to go ahead and do my 1 1/4 and 1 1/4. And the other thing I love about these spot on dots is it helps me remember exactly where my line is. And I'm going to go ahead and cut. So I'm going to go ahead and cut a couple of these strips. All of your instructions are going to be in the little mini pattern. If you want to know exactly how many strips to cut based on the fabric requirements, just check out the little mini pattern, and it has all of the details on how many strips to cut based on your fabrics. Now I've squared up an end, and right on my curvy trim tool, it tells me that my wide strips need to be at least 1 1/2 inches wide. So I'm going to go ahead and cut my 1 1/2 inch strips out of all my different fun fuchsias and maroons and purple Art Gallery fabrics that I have. And I'm going to go ahead and move these spot on dots so I can see where I'm at. Perfect. And know that these are 1 1/2 inch strips. We need to cut the centers of our curvy log cabin out of our background fabric. And you'll see right here on the curvy log cabin trim tool up in the corner, it has the template to cut your 1 1/8 inch center square. And to make sure we're lining up everything right, we can just grab our spot on dot, put it right there so we can magnify that corner and know that everything is placed just right before we cut our center. And then for the purposes of my pattern, we'll just need 4 of these. Once we have our 4 centers, we're going to start building our scrappy curvy log cabin around this center. So with whichever of our strips that we've selected, we'll do a piece on one side and then a piece on the other side, and then we'll grab our background and do a piece on the 3rd side and a piece on the 4th side. If you need instructions for this, go ahead and find the link below to the pattern, and the pattern will give you details on exactly how a log cabin block comes together. Then we're going to trim this up. Now we have all of our pieces sewn on and we're ready to trim up our blocks. What we want to do is we want to use the round one And right here we have the wide round one. And we can lay that wide round one because these colored pieces are wide, and set it right on top of our piecing. Now we can use the large 2-inch spot on dot, and that's perfect for increasing our visibility there. So once we've done that, and we can just go ahead and press on that spot on dot to get our grip down. Move those pieces out of the way. And now we're going to do the narrow round one. So we'll flip this around. Go ahead and increase the size on our narrow round one. Get that all lined up. And go ahead and trim away the excess. And that gives us our first round for our 4-inch curvy log cabin. We'll go ahead and trim up the other units, and then we'll be back here when we have on round 2. Once you have these second rounds all the way on, then you can trim it up. Again, we're going to do our wide round 2 right here. And I'm going to go ahead and grab my spot on dot so I can see that really well. And then spin it. My narrow round 2 goes on there. Use my spot on dot to see how I'm doing on lining everything up. And then repeat the process for all the rest. Doing my wide round 2. And if you want, you can just put this on your wide round 2 and trim all your wides. And that will keep you knowing exactly which piece you have. If you're like me and you like to have a movie going on in the background, sometimes I pay attention to the movie and I forget which round I'm on, and then whoops, I've cut it too small. So this way, I keep that spot on dot in the right spot. I know what my spot is, and I'm cutting spot on every time. Now I'll turn it around, move this to narrow round 2, and I'm all set to cut. So I have my finished squares for my curvy log cabin. I'm going to grab one, and then my curvy log cabin trim tool, and I'm going to throw my spot on dot right on that white center square, and then I can match that up and cut 2 sides. And you don't ever want to cut more than 2 sides because I don't want to cut towards myself with a rotary cutter. That's super dangerous. So I'm going to spin it around, and then I'm going to line everything back up again because things tend to get a little out of place when I spin things around. And now I can do my other 2 sides. And there we go. I have this log cabin that kind of looks like a curve. I'm going to go ahead and do those cuts on the rest. And then if you're following along on the pattern, I can go ahead and put my quilt together.